Tim.
Have you ever looked at a celebrity and thought they had it all figured out? The perfect life, the perfect family, endless success? Well, today we're going to talk about Tim McGraw, the country music superstar who has sold millions of records, won countless awards, and built an empire. But beneath all that success lies a story that's heartbreaking, inspiring, and incredibly human. At 58 years old, Tim McGraw has faced tragedies that would break most people. But before we get into what he's dealing with now, we need to understand where he came from. Tim McGraw was born in 1967 in a tiny town called Start, Louisiana. His mother, Betty, was just 18 years old and working as a waitress. His father was a young baseball player named Tug McGraw, who at the time was playing in the minor leagues. But here's the thing. Tug wanted nothing to do with his son. He left before Tim was even born, chasing his dreams of becoming a baseball star. Betty eventually married a truck driver named Horace Smith, and for the first 11 years of his life, Tim believed that Horace was his real father. He grew up as Tim Smith in a household that struggled financially. They didn't have much money, and life was hard. But his stepdad, Horace, did give him one incredible gift. He introduced young Tim to country music, and it became the soundtrack of his childhood. Everything changed when Tim was 11 years old. He was looking through his mother's closet, searching for a picture he needed for a school project. That's when he found it. His birth certificate. The name on it wasn't Smith. It was McGraw. And where his father's name should have been, someone had scratched it out, but they had left one detail visible. His father's occupation was listed as baseball player. Tim's world was turned upside down. He confronted his mother, and she finally told him the truth. His real father was Tug McGraw, who by then had become a famous Major League Baseball pitcher for teams like the New York Mets and the Philadelphia Phillies. Can you imagine what that must have felt like? Finding out at 11 years old that your entire identity was a lie? That your real father was a millionaire baseball star who had denied your existence? Most kids would be angry. They would feel abandoned and unwanted. But Tim saw it differently. Even at that young age, he realized something important. If his father could make it as a professional athlete, coming from similar circumstances, then maybe he could achieve great things too. That blood was in his veins. That determination was part of who he was. It gave him hope. But meeting his father wasn't easy. Betty contacted Tug and arranged for them to meet. Tim was nervous and excited. He was finally going to meet his famous dad. But when they met, Tug was cold. He told his 11-year-old son that he had another family now, and he couldn't be a father to him. Just imagine being rejected like that by your own parent. Tim didn't give up, though. He kept writing letters to his father, trying to build some kind of connection. But Tug ignored him for 7 more years. 7 years of hoping, waiting, and wondering why his own father didn't want him. When Tim turned 12, his mother took him to see Tug play baseball at the Astrodome in Houston. She had gotten in touch with Tug's lawyer, and Tug had agreed to leave tickets for them. Tim was so excited. He thought maybe this would be his chance to connect with his dad. During warm-up, Tug was doing this trick where he would catch balls behind his back. Tim started yelling and trying to get his attention. He shouted for 30 minutes straight, desperately trying to make eye contact with his father. But Tug never looked up. He refused to acknowledge his own son. Tim finally gave up and went back to his seat, heartbroken. He wouldn't see his father again until he was 18 years old. Finally, when Tim was 17 and in high school, things changed. Tim's mother was struggling financially while Tug was living the life of a wealthy professional athlete. She decided enough was enough and filed a lawsuit demanding child support. The state of Louisiana asked for $350,000 in back payments. Tug's lawyers contacted Betty and worked out a deal. Tug agreed to pay for Tim's college education, take a paternity test, and meet with his son. The paternity test proved what everyone already knew. Tim was his son, and at last, father and son began building a relationship. It wasn't perfect at first. Tug later admitted that even when they spent time together in college, things felt distant. They were still keeping each other at arm's length. But slowly, they started to connect. Tim even changed his last name legally from Smith to McGraw, claiming his father's identity. And when Tug saw that Tim was serious about pursuing a music career, he tried to help, During a team party with the Philadelphia Phillies in 1990, Tug met an executive from a Nashville record label. He gave them Tim's demo tape. That connection led to Tim getting his first record deal. Tug even bought Tim a van so his band could travel to shows. Tim's career took off in the 90s. He released hit after hit. Songs like Don't Take the Girl, It's Your Love, and Just to See You Smile made him one of the biggest stars in country music. He won Grammys and sold millions of albums. He fell in love with another country superstar, Faith Hill, and they got married in 1996. They had 3 beautiful daughters together, Gracie, Maggie, and Audrey. From the outside, everything looked perfect. Tim McGraw had made it. He had overcome his difficult childhood and achieved his dreams. But behind the scenes, Tim was struggling with something that threatened to destroy everything he had built. He was drinking too much. It started as something that seemed normal in the music industry, having a few drinks before going on stage to calm the nerves, drinking at parties and events. But it got worse. Tim admitted later that he performed almost every single show drunk. He could count on one hand the number of times he went on stage sober. The alcohol wasn't just something he did occasionally. It was controlling his life. He would drink whiskey constantly, and once he started, he couldn't stop with just one drink. People around him started to notice. His family was worried. His wife, Faith, was seeing the person she loved disappear into addiction. The drinking was affecting his relationships with his children. It was affecting his work. Tim knew it too. He could feel himself becoming someone he didn't want to be. Someone who was embarrassing his wife. Someone who was setting a terrible example for his daughters. Someone who might lose everything that mattered. And the scary part was that he felt powerless to stop it. Then in 2008, Faith had enough. After 13 years of marriage and 3 children together, she gave Tim an ultimatum. She told him he had to choose between his rock star lifestyle and his family. It was that simple and that serious. Tim was going to lose the people he loved most if he didn't make a change. Around the same time, Tim went to see a movie with his 12-year-old daughter. Sitting there in that dark theater, looking at his little girl, something clicked. He realized that his drinking could cost him moments like this. It could cost him his daughter's childhoods. It could cost him his marriage. It could cost him his life. Tim made a decision that took incredible courage. He quit drinking. And he didn't just cut back or try to moderate. He quit completely. Cold turkey. And here's the really hard part. He quit on the very first day of a major concert tour in May 2008. The night before the tour started, he had what he called a complete blowout drinking session. One last binge. Then the next morning, he started his tour completely sober. Can you imagine how difficult that must have been? For years, he had used alcohol to calm his nerves before performing. Now he had to go out in front of thousands of people with nothing but his own courage. He later said it was the toughest tour he had ever done in his entire life. But Tim didn't just give up drinking. He replaced that addiction with something positive. He threw himself into physical fitness. He started working out 3 times a day, sometimes for 90 minutes each session. He would run 4 to 5 miles before every show. His body transformed. At 4 to 7 years old, he had muscles and energy like someone half his age. More importantly, his mind transformed. The exercise gave him the natural adrenaline and confidence he needed. It kept him distracted from cravings. After a hard workday, his brain was so exhausted that he didn't even think about alcohol. Tim has now been sober for over 16 years. He's open about the fact that staying sober isn't easy. It's not a straight path. There are setbacks and struggles. It's something he has to work on every single day for the rest of his life. While Tim was building his sobriety and career, he was also building something else with his father. Tug and Tim's relationship had grown stronger over the years. They had moved past the pain of those early rejections. They had become genuinely close. Tug was proud of his son's success. Tim was grateful for the support his father had given him. Everything seemed like it was finally falling into place. But then tragedy struck. In 2003, Tug McGraw was diagnosed with a brain tumor. Specifically, it was glioblastoma, which is one of the most aggressive and deadly forms of brain cancer. The diagnosis was devastating. Tim immediately stepped up to help his father in any way he could. He researched treatment options. He found specialists. When it became clear that the treatments at one hospital weren't working, Tim found another facility that offered experimental drugs. The cost was nearly $6,000 per month, but Tim didn't hesitate. He paid for everything. He even bought his father a motorhome so Tug and his family could travel across the country more comfortably during treatment. As Tug's health declined, he asked for one final wish. He wanted to spend his last days at Tim's cabin outside Nashville. Tim brought his father home. And there, surrounded by his family, including the son who had spent so many years trying to earn his love, Tug McGraw died on January 5, 2004. He was only 59 years old. Tim was heartbroken. After all those years of rejection, all those years of trying to build a relationship, he had finally gotten close to his father, and now he was gone. But Tim channeled his grief into something beautiful. In 2004, he recorded a song called Live Like You Were Dying. The song was dedicated to his father and became one of the biggest hits of Tim's career. It spent 7 weeks at #1 on the country charts and was named the top country song of the entire year. The message of the song was powerful. When faced with mortality, what really matters? How do you want to live your life? Tim also honored his father's memory in another way. He helped establish the Tug McGraw Foundation, which supports people dealing with brain tumors and other neurological conditions. The foundation helps children and adults affected by traumatic brain injuries and post-traumatic stress disorder. It was Tim's way of making sure his father's struggle and death would help others. During the 2008 World Series, when the Phillies returned to the championship for the first time since 1980, Tim threw out the first pitch before one of the games. Before he did, he scattered some of his father's ashes on the pitcher's mound, bringing Tug back to the place where he had achieved his greatest triumph. You might think that after overcoming addiction, losing his father, and building a successful career and family, Tim McGraw would finally catch a break. But life had more challenges waiting for him. Fast forward to 2024. Tim is in his late 50s now. He's been touring and performing for over 30 years, and his body is paying the price. Early in his 2024 standing room only tour, just 3 weeks into the shows, Tim started experiencing serious problems with his knees. The pain was so bad that he could barely perform. He needed surgery immediately. He underwent double knee replacement surgery, having both knees operated on at the same time. The recovery was brutal. But here's the thing. While Tim was recovering from his knee surgeries, his back started acting up. All those years of performing, all those energetic shows, all that running and movement had taken a toll on his spine too. He needed back surgery. Not just once, but 3 times. 3 separate back surgeries while also recovering from knee replacements. The pain was excruciating. Tim had to cancel the rest of his entire 2024 tour. Fans who had bought tickets were disappointed, but they understood. Their hero was hurting. In early 2025, Tim had to make another painful decision. He had signed on to star in and produce a new rodeo series for Netflix. It was supposed to be an exciting new chapter in his career, combining his love of country culture with his acting skills. But his back problems were so severe that he had to pull out of the entire project. Netflix moved forward with the show without him. For someone who has spent his entire life working and performing, being forced to step away was devastating. Tim admitted in interviews that in the spring before his final back surgery, things had gotten really bad. The pain was so intense that he seriously considered retiring from music entirely. He was trying to figure out how to walk away from the career he loved. He didn't want to quit, but he didn't think his body could handle it anymore. Thankfully, after that final back surgery, things started to improve. Tim began to see hope again. He realized he might be able to continue performing after all, but the recovery has been long and difficult. An inside source said that Tim has been in tremendous pain and that once the surgery was done, he would need months of recovery and physical therapy sessions. Through all of this, Tim's wife Faith has been by his side. Just like she supported him through his battle with alcohol, she's been supporting him through these health challenges. Sources say Faith have been amazing at keeping Tim's mindset positive. She reminds him to focus on everything he has to be grateful for. That support has been huge for him as he navigates these difficulties. But the health struggles aren't the only heartbreak Tim has faced recently. In July 2024, Tim lost someone else who was incredibly important to him. His beloved Uncle Hank, who was a patriarch of the McGraw family, passed away. Tim shared the news on social media, posting photos of his uncle and writing about what an incredible man he was. Uncle Hank had a way of lighting up any room he walked into. He was honest and truthful, even when it hurt. He was a true All-American who played professional baseball for 11 years, sang beautifully, played guitar, and was an incredible craftsman. He told the best stories. For Tim, who lost his father 20 years earlier, Uncle Hank had been an important father figure and family connection. His death was another painful loss. Despite all these challenges, there's also been some good news mixing with the heartbreak. In late 2024, Tim announced a collaboration with the legendary Barbra Streisand. They recorded a duet together called I Love Us, which appeared on Streisand's album. Tim said he was beyond honored to be asked to sing with such an icon. It was a reminder that even when things are tough, beautiful opportunities can still come along. And in May 2025, Tim announced his first concert in nearly a year. He's scheduled to perform at the Music City Rodeo in Nashville. It will be his first time back on stage since all the surgeries and health problems. For Tim and his fans, it's a sign of hope, a sign that is healing, a sign that is not giving up. Tim has also revealed something else that shows his struggles have been deeper than just physical pain. He said that his wife, Faith, has also been dealing with health issues requiring her own surgeries. Faith has stepped back from the public eye over the past couple of years. She hasn't performed in more than 2 years, hasn't recorded new music, and has deleted all her social media accounts. While Tim and Faith have kept the details of her health struggles private, it's clear that the couple has been going through a difficult time together. Dealing with your own health problems is hard enough, but watching your partner struggle while you're also hurting, that's a different kind of heartbreak. Tim is also dealing with the reality of aging in an industry that glorifies youth. In his new song, King Rodeo, he talks about facing age and all the stuff that comes with it. For someone who built a career on high-energy performances and physical stamina, accepting the limitations of an aging body is tough. He's had to come to terms with the fact that he can't do things the way he used to, that his body needs more care and more rest. That recovery takes longer. For someone with Tim's drive and work ethic, slowing down feels like giving up, even when it's necessary. Looking at Tim McGraw's life, it's easy to see the success, the sold-out concerts, the #1 hits, the beautiful family, the awards and accolades. But behind all of that success is a story of someone who has fought battles most of us can't imagine. A little boy who discovered his father didn't want him. A young man who was rejected over and over but never gave up trying to connect. A husband and father who realized his addiction was destroying his family and had the courage to quit. A son who lost his father just when they were finally close. A performer whose body is breaking down after decades of giving everything to his fans. A man watching his wife struggle with health problems while dealing with his own pain. At 58 years old, Tim McGraw has faced tragedies that are truly heartbreaking. But here's what makes his story so powerful. He hasn't let those tragedies define him. When he found out his father was a famous baseball player who had abandoned him, he used that knowledge as motivation instead of an excuse. When his father rejected him, he kept reaching out until they built a relationship. When addiction threatened to destroy his life, he quit cold turkey and never looked back. When his body started breaking down, he fought through multiple surgeries instead of giving up. When grief and loss came knocking, he honored those he lost by helping others. Tim McGraw's story reminds us that success doesn't mean a life without struggle. Sometimes the people who seem to have it all together are fighting the hardest battles. The perfect family Christmas photos don't show the addiction recovery or the health scares. The sold-out concert tours don't reveal the chronic pain or the fear of losing everything. The Hollywood smile doesn't tell you about the childhood rejection or the devastating losses. But those struggles are what make the success meaningful. They are what make the joy precious. They are what make the love worth fighting for. Tim has said that he's grateful for his journey, even the painful parts. Finding out about his father gave him something to reach for in his small Louisiana town. It made him believe that he could become something more than his circumstances suggested. The struggles with his father taught him about forgiveness and the power of persistence. His battle with addiction taught him about the importance of family and health. His father's death taught him to live like he was dying, to make every moment count. And his current health struggles are teaching him about resilience, about accepting help, and about what really matters when your body reminds you that you're not invincible. The tragedy of Tim McGraw isn't just one thing. It's the accumulation of a lifetime of challenges. It's the little boy who wasn't wanted by his father. It's the teenager who was ignored at the baseball stadium. It's the performer who almost lost his family to addiction. It's the son who lost his father to cancer. It's a 58-year-old man whose body is giving out after a lifetime of giving everything to his art. It's watching his wife struggle while he's struggling too. It's the fear of having to walk away from the only career he's ever wanted. It's all of these things together, piling up year after year. But the triumph of Tim McGraw is that he's still standing. He's still fighting. He's still loving his family. He's still making music. He's still showing up, even when it hurts. He's still being honest about his struggles instead of hiding behind his fame. He's still turning his pain into purpose through foundations and songs that help others. He's still believing that tomorrow can be better than today. That's not just inspiring. That's heroic. So the next time you hear a Tim McGraw song, remember that the voice singing to you belongs to someone who has been through more than most people could handle. Someone who knows what it's like to feel unwanted, to fight addiction, to lose people you love, to have your body fail you. Someone who has every reason to be bitter but chooses gratitude instead. Someone who has every excuse to give up but keeps going anyway. That's the real Tim McGraw. Not just a country music star, but a survivor. Not just a performer, but a fighter. Not just a celebrity, but a human being who has faced heartbreak after heartbreak and somehow still finds reasons to sing. If you found this story inspiring or emotional, please hit that like button. Share this video with someone who might need to hear Tim's story today. And don't forget to subscribe to our channel for more stories about the real life behind the famous faces. Because everyone is fighting a battle we know nothing about. And sometimes the most successful people are the ones who have overcome the biggest struggles. Thanks for watching, and remember to live your life like you were dying. Make every moment count. That's what Tim would want us to do.